How to Receive Feedback with a Growth Mindset by Amanda Hill. Right here is a few links that give you pointers on how to receive feedback with a growth mindset, receiving feedback, and the overlooked art of receiving feedback. Today, I'm just going to show you one.
The bodies with elegance. They twirl throughout. They're having such a way to me. I can hear the music. I just can't seem to, and it's not. I've worked hard to overcome my other people and try and copy what they do. Even when the dancers are scripted, though, they never seem to come out the way they're intended. And the universe has a sense of humor about most things, I think, but certainly about my dancing. I know this because I've been fortunate enough to have two incredible daughters, unique and inspiring kids who challenge me and fill me with unending joy because they like books and games and movies and sports and theater and school. And I cannot leave this out, they're both competitive dancers. That's right. Of all the activities my kids could have pursued, both were drawn to, of all things, dance. Now, when I was a new parent, I couldn't have cared what my kids were going to be passionate about. I was going to be supportive and over involved and, of course, proud. I had dreams of teaching them things like how to ride a bike, how to read a book, why the sky is blue, and why they should always be kind. I had visions of one day coaching a team or helping them in whatever activity it was they wanted to do. And what the universe decided was that my kids wanted to dance all day, every day. They train 4 to 6 days a week, hours on end, and when they come home, all they want to do is dance some more. They watch dance on TV. They choreograph their own routines. No matter what else is going on, dance has become a constant in our house. And thankfully, they asked me to join in. So I do, unhesitatingly. My middle school teachers would be proud. And I'm terrible. But the wonderful thing is, they haven't given up hope. They give me feedback. They're direct, sometimes cruelly so, but I'm open to it all. And it's actually fun to hear what they think, take their feedback on my dancing and try and get better. But I realize this has not been my experience with feedback in other aspects of my life. Else breaks down a performance that's important to us, that we practiced over and over again, that we connect with, that somehow makes us feel special, walls go up. I think back to my time as a classroom teacher, and those walls would appear for me every time I was evaluated. My administrator would give me feedback, and the second she started, I was coming up with support for my decisions. My walls were up. Honestly, I was doing everything in my head except truly listening to the feedback. As an administrator, having conversations with my colleagues, I realized I wasn't alone in the struggle. Walls are everywhere, but we don't talk about them, and we never practice how to bring them down. Now, I realize these walls exist almost as an innate defense mechanism, and the greater the connection between the activity and our sense of self, the higher those walls can be. So when my girls give me feedback on my dancing, the walls are low because I don't define myself as a dancer. Now give me feedback on an activity I connect with, that I'm passionate about. And even though I consider myself to be an open, growth-minded person, the walls shoot up, and they can be towering. This isn't unique in education. Honestly, you can find it anywhere. If we care about what we do, there's a natural inclination to defend ourselves against feedback. And the universe has that sense of humor, because in this case, those self-same walls intended to defend us actually hinder our growth. They make it less likely that we will hear the feedback and maximize its impact. So if we want to grow, the universe has decided we have to work. In many cases, that work only gets more difficult as we get older because there seems to be this expectation that as we know more, we shouldn't need feedback in the same way. As we grow up, though, receiving feedback becomes less and less a part of how we define ourselves, which is interesting because if you look at adults who have mastered to hear and use feedback, it's our job. But when feedback, the one with control over how we hear it's delivered. What I've learned as a parent and an educator is that the reception of feedback is far more important and far more powerful than its delivery, and yet we rarely talk about it. Receiving feedback is not about saying I'm open-minded or I have a growth mindset. Receiving feedback is a skill that when mastered helps us like any skill. We have to practice it. You don't see nothing.
Now, as you saw in the video, we have to learn to receive feedback in a proper way. And the older we get, the more stubborn we are on this. Here's some pictures that I found about building a growth mindset. It explains that you find out opportunity, admiration, feedback, worthwhile, and it's actually a lesson. Using feedback to build mindset, you're able to grow. You can learn what you don't know. Praise and efforts, talent, or intelligence. Show interest, help people reflect. Here's 5 ways to receive feedback, which can help foster our growth mindset. Mindfully receive feedback. Listen and receive positive feedback by acknowledging it and saying thank you. Don't be afraid to give it either. It only takes a few minutes to be constructive. Here's an example. What I appreciate about you is that you are most intuitive, Dan. Then you can add constructive criticism. And I feel that you can be more effective if so on and so forth. Know the voice of your inner critic and see what stories it is spinning. The inner critic is not constructive. It cannot give positive feedback. The solution then is to train that inner coach with calm, reasonable, and constructive affirmation. Change your thinking. Focus on gratefulness with a gratitude journal. That takes practice, but it trains you to see the positive side of things. Even entire organizations can practice this growth mindset exercise. What you do and say should be consistent. As a leader, your team is watching every move and monitoring your level of compassion and empathy. Imagine for every negative feedback which is given, takes 5 positive comments to counteract that. So for every bad comment you make about somebody, it takes about 5 positive ones to counteract that. Tell your team how they can be more effective, but keep it positive. Keep feedback private. On-site feedback in a public way can be shaming. Keep feedback private for everything. You don't want to give negative feedback about somebody in a public place because this is going to embarrass them and it's going to make them feel very small, very belittled. If they're doing something, take them to the side, tell them what they're doing, how they can improve it, and that will make them feel better, not like they're put in the spotlight for everybody to see what they're doing wrong. But then whenever you give positive feedback, like, oh, you did a really great job yesterday. I can't believe you got all that completed. Do that in front of everybody. That way everybody sees how good that person was or the positive attitude of it all. Here's mine. We're excited. Now, whenever we did our questions last week, our survey, I had 4 people. I don't use email that much except for at work. And so I shared my link on my Facebook profile to everybody that it is private, that nobody would know. And you can see here where pretty much everybody had pretty much the same thoughts about it all. There was only a few times it was any different. And I want to thank everybody for their time and have a good night.